Welcome back to the IRIS-HEP Introduction to Apptainer Singularity. This episode is about building containers. How can you build a container with your requirements? You will learn how to download and assemble containers, starting from available images in the repositories. In the previous episode, we have seen how we could use existing images to start our own container. But running container from available public images is not the only option. In many cases, it is required to modify an image or even to create a new one from scratch. For such purposes, Apptainer provides the command build, defined in the documentation as the Swiss Army knife of container creation. If you want to learn all the details about the build command, you can go to the Apptainer documentation. Here we will see some use cases. The usual workflow is to prepare and test a container in a build environment, like your laptop, either with an interactive session or from a definition file, and then to deploy the container into a production environment for execution, like your institutional cluster or the grid or the cloud. Interactive sessions are great to experiment and test your new container. If you want to distribute the container or use it in production, then we recommend to build it from a definition file as described in the next episode. This ensures the greatest possibility of reproducibility and transparency. In this picture, you can see a typical workflow where you create a container, you start from an image of something existing, you modify it interactively, and then you send it for deployment and use it in different realities. Like we mentioned in the previous episodes, what you are actually building is a container image, which is kind of like a template that then you can instantiate to run different commands within the container that you create from that image. Let's see how to build one. While images contained in the ZIP files are more compact and immutable objects, ideal for reproducibility, for building and testing images, it's more convenient to use a sandbox, which can be easily modified. The command build provides the flag sandbox that will create a writable directory. For example, I start using the command build and build a sandbox. Or an Alma9 container. So I'll call it my Alma9. And I will start from the official image in Docker app of Alma Linux 9. This is downloading it. It's actually already in the cache, and then it's building the ZIP. This time it's not building a file, but it's building a directory in the sandbox format. So if I list, I will see the files that are from the previous download in the previous episode, and then I see the directory, my Alma9, that was just created. When you do this, we recommend to use a local file system. So if you're using an account on systems like LX Plus or CMS LPC, make sure that you are not using your home directory, which is in a shared file system, but you create a directory in TMP. So the container name is Alma9. It has been initialized with official Alma Linux 9 image. And now I want to do some modification. So to do that, I will start a shell. I will say that I want it writable. And I will use also the option fake root, because I want to be able to install packages inside, so to have admin privileges. So that the fake root command gives you admin privileges only inside the container. So inside the container, you are the root user, but outside you will be still your regular unprivileged user. So any file that you create in a bound directory or anything that interacts with the outside host will still be done with your regular user. So some unprivileged version with namespaces not enabled in your host will give you an error when you use the fake root command. So if that's the case, you might not be able to create a sandbox that you can modify and install. So let's start installing some repositories that we will need. We want to create a container with Pythia. So we'll prepare it by installing Apple, which is shared repositories with many useful contributed software. And then I'm installing the CRB repository as well. So the CRB repositories, which is the code ready builder, is the equivalent of the Power Tools repository that was in previous Enterprise Linux version. Now these are sufficient now to install Pythia from the RPM package. But I like to install also the development tools and the Python 3 development in case you want to do the installation the hard way and install Pythia from source. Up to recently, Pythia was actually not available as RPM package in Apple, but so you had to install it from source. This is still the recommended installation provided through the instruction in the Pythia website. So if you go to the Pythia website, it will tell you how to download Pythia and then extract it and install it from source. So the development tools, it's a very large collection of packages. So we'll take a little bit to complete this installation. To allow for that, I will post the registration and continue once the development tool installation completed. I completed the installation of the development tools and restarted the recording. So now I want to install also the Python development package. And completed the installation, I will actually install Pythia directly from the RPM. Besides installing Pythia, I'm installing also the Python binding for Pythia. Here will ask me to trust the key for the Apple repository. If you prefer, you can use the installation in suggesting the Pythia page, downloading the tarball, and then doing the installation from scratch. Having already Pythia, now I want to use this container to actually check and use the software. So I'm exiting from the container. And I will start a shell on the container. This time I don't need to modify the container anymore. So I can import a Pythia in Python now. Python. So if you install Pythia to the source installation, the packages are not in the system path. So you will have to actually first export the Python path and then the library path, see the two commands that are mentioned here. In my case, since I use the RPM, I will be able just to start Python and to import Pythia. And to use it. As you can see, I was able to create a container to make it available with Pythia. And now it can be packaged and sent and deployed wherever I need to run this. So notice that when installing from source, we need to define the environment variables, Python path and then the library path in order to use Pythia on Python. This process can be automated, as we will see in the next session. I'll leave you as an exercise to build a container to use uproot in Python 3.9. Uproot is a package in Python that allows to read root files directly in Python. And the link provided will tell you which are the instructions to install it. It's available in PyPy. To summarize this episode, the command build is the basic tool for the creation of containers. A sandbox is a writable directory where containers can be built interactively. And superuser permissions are required to build containers. If you need to install packages or manipulate the operating system. But these are provided by Apptainer, even if outside you are a regular user, so you can modify your container. The use of interactive builds is only for development and tests. For deployment, we recommend to use definition files for production and when you distribute your containers. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next episode.